This is where it gets real. The sketch is an idea, but the garment is the truth. At this point in the process, I'm moving from concept to construction. I start building, one seam at a time. Slowly, the garment takes shape, and I start to see what's working and what's not. There's always a moment when something doesn't go as planned. The fabric won't drape the way I imagined. A line feels off. The energy of a piece is missing. That's the hard part, when you're too deep to start over, but too close to let go. In those moments, I pause. I step away and I ask myself, what am I trying to say here? Sometimes it means removing something that you once loved on paper. Other times it means, unfortunately, rebuilding from scratch. The garment always tells the truth, but you need to be willing to listen. This phase is full of tiny decisions that no one sees, but they're adding up to everything. The thread color you almost didn't notice, the weight of the top stitch. I take my time here because these choices carry the soul of the piece. I don't believe in rushing this part. Sewing is the evidence of care. If the inside is clean and the seams are intentional, it means something. Even if no one sees it, you'll know it's there. Eventually, the pieces start to feel done. Not perfect, just honest. That's what I'm aiming for. Not perfection, but integrity. If you're stuck, don't panic. Keep building, and the clarity will come. Every mistake teaches you something. Sometimes you don't need to start over. It's just a shift in a new direction. When the work is finally complete, I step back and take it in. This is the part that is hard to explain. The moment when the ideas become real, when your hands prove what your mind imagined. So the first look here we have is the Craftsman. So for this look, we have a full suit. So the shirt, the pants, and the hat. The story is told here through the fabric. So you can see here that the fabric has this beautiful, intricate weave. This is used throughout the whole look. And then also to add extra details, you can see here on the pockets, we have this fringe of the fabric that was hand done. This is on the pockets of the shirt. And then as well at the bottom of the pants here, we have that. And then for a final touch, we also have it along the edge of the hat here. So the intricacy of this is what really connects back to a craftsman and their love for intricacy as well. The next look we have here is the Fisherman. So this is where you get that big pop of color that really connects us back to the ocean and to saltwater. I was really inspired by actual Caribbean fishermen. In Barbados, when I go to the fisherman market, I see them wearing these big oversized jumpsuits, these big aprons. And I really wanted to bring that into this look by creating this just big overall jumpsuit. And then adding in the details of all of these pockets to bring in that utilitarian vibe to it. And then the final details, adding in these silver starfish buttons that you can see throughout the collection as well. Next, we have the Forager. And I wanted to play in a different way of camo in a sense, not necessarily saying that you need it for that, but this pattern kind of messes with your eyes a little bit. And I thought it was a really interesting take of a forager that is going out looking for things. So this is the full look. You have the shirt and then the matching pants as well. And then as well, just like the Fisherman, we have a smaller version of those starfish buttons. And then on the pants, we have these large patches with big pockets, so you can add your tools in to bring in that utilitarianness as well. Okay, and then here we have the field worker. So for this look, I really wanted to connect to the celebration of harvest. And I was really inspired by crop over and the celebration and the jewel tones of the outfits. So here is where you see the Eve shirt. But then at the back of this one, you see the NNDYVE logo, but adding in those jewel tones, but on the Eve logo. And then for the pants here, having at the very bottom that mole hair to really create a really interesting contrast of textures for the final look. And then next we have the gardener. So for this, we have an oversized leather robe. My thoughts were when you're gardening and bringing on just your house coat, a big coat, but bringing that into leather and then having that matching leather apron as well for all of your tools. So really like that fantasy of a gardener wearing all leather and strong and powerful. And then here you'll see the last look, the livestock tender. So for this one, the same style of coat as the gardener, but for here it's wool. So half in this beautiful texture. And then for this one with the tweed, and you can see when you look closely, the beautiful shine on the tweed as well. And then underneath that, we have this shirt that has the fringe continuing with fabric along the front. And then again, those small detail of the starfish buttons as well to create the final look. And then from the craftsman, the same type of hat here, but in leather, and then continuing that conversation of fringe on the sides as well. And the last piece of the collection is our silk scarf here. So you can see that the pattern of the scarf is continuing the language that we have throughout with the grid and the weave that you see in the fabric here. This print was hand done by airbrush, and then along the side, bringing in the love of the Caribbean with the macaroni pie recipe along the edge of here. In the next episode, the collection leaves the studio. This is the time to show it. Through a lens, through movement, through story. The final chapter is where the work speaks.